so we're a little less formal. I want to say a little disclaimer, you know, this is how we are doing silvopasture. It's what works for us in this moment. Every moment, every month, you should be assessing your farm and adapting to it. So you're seeing this farm as it is in this moment. I hope that it's better and different and more functional if you were to come back 5 years from now. So kind of approach your own farm, your own silvopasture experience in that same way. A lot of what we're going to talk about is just going to pastures, observing the animals, observing the space, so that you can learn how to go to your own space and observe and assess and adapt as we go through this. All the silvopasture that we do is connected to rotational grazing. It is very useful. Goats are very prone to parasite problems. And my number one recommendation, if anyone's going to start goats, is even if you have tiny rotational pastures, move those goats. Okay, they do not do well in a dry lot. In the wet, hot season of the year, when the parasites are most likely to grow and prosper, once it gets to be about 6 inches of grass space, then you're moving them. Goats are not grazers. Goats are browsers. I love the silvopasture experience for them. I just don't expect there to be any trees that are in the process of maturing when I have goats in a pasture. They're either giant mature trees or young trees that they're going to eat to the ground, and then those trees are going to grow 20 feet and then they're going to eat them to the ground again, and there's a cycle. Okay, do not put goats in an orchard or anywhere where you have short trees that you care about. Okay. Here they have 3 pie slices that they rotate throughout the year. We break this down. This is about 500 feet of fencing. You're looking at about $2 per foot length of fence. Know that this is a system that can be put up cheaply. There's no permanent fence, so if you change your mind later, or maybe you just bought the property and you haven't done all your permaculture observations for a year yet, then you can always change your mind. I just love the fence. It is from Premier One. I'm not endorsed by them, but I have benefited from their attention to detail in their product. We like the water barrels. Those are just recycled. You can move them with the tractor or whatever you want. This is the black walnut here. Do you notice that there's like light brown where they've started mouthing on it? That's my signal that they need to move. So now that all the leaves have dropped, they're ready to move over to the next pie slice. They'll hang out there all winter. Moving animals, fences, and housing is very different in a silvopasture experience than it is in a pasture. So this house is built on a trailer. It's designed to where they all load up, and then I take down the whole fence, and then they just move across the top of this ridge as we go through. They'll be right next to the house for birthing season, and then they'll move into the middle for like your mid-spring times, and then by the time summer happens, they're back under the trees again. There is nothing like the quality of shade that a mature tree is going to give your animals. You know, that respiration that the trees do, and they moisturize the air. It's going to be absolutely invaluable for your animals to be part of that when they have to suffer through. If you have milking does, you want to keep them hydrated all the time. And so the shade that these trees provide is money in your pocket. Plan out, where's your building going to move? What time of year is it going to be in which areas? And then, what are the animals doing at those times of the year? Are they birthing? Are they just fattening up because they're for meat? Whatever the case might be, plan ahead. This is the little seed of my daughter hopes to breed rabbits. I would like you to note, wherever we have animals, there's a purpose and there's a tree. Like even in our grow out pen for our chickens, in our chicken pens, in our duck pens, there are trees. I adore trees. Shrubs, fruiting shrubs. Pine trees are very, very valuable if you can get some going. Not only do they provide shade in the winter, they provide ice and snow protection, and then anything that falls should go to your goats. because any plant that's high in tannins, like your pine trees, let them strip the bark off, just throw the entire branch in there. Because all of that is extremely valuable to supporting their immune system. Tannins break down the immune system of the parasites in their gut. If you're a true plant lover, I'm sure you have that random nursery area where you just stuff everything, you buy it and you're like, I don't know where it's gonna go, but surely I'm gonna find a space eventually. So that's kind of what this is, combined with like the idea of a wicking bed. It's a lazy wicking bed. I just drilled the holes lower, but we've grown some huge ginger in them. We start with celery, we rotate to ginger, and then we've got herbs. In the back here, where it's shaded, where most things don't grow, that's where you should be sticking your baby silvopastured plants. I highly recommend that you develop their root system first. Unless you have the space or the time or the money to put in a drip system, okay, you are gonna have a much higher success rate if you grow them even in something, so this is like a 7-gallon pot, even something half this size or a quarter this size, it's going to give it a much better chance. I get the $1 ones from Missouri Conservation. Use your shaded areas, use kiddie pools, use IBC totes with holes drilled high. The fastest thing that's going to kill your baby tree is lack of water. We get some flow of water through here, so track your water on your property, know where it goes. Maybe that's where you put your nursery if you don't have one already. Grow them just so they're larger. You won't regret it. Ducks are my absolute favorite for fruiting silvopasture situations where you're gonna harvest the fruit. Blackberries, raspberries, domesticated ducks, I should preface, are too fat to fly. These guys are all Welsh Harlequins. So, you know, we get the eggs, we hatch babies, so we sell purebred. So if you stick with one variety, you can also hatch and sell those as an increase in income. Essentially, there's like 26 fruit trees on this side of a whole mix, and then there's 26 on this side. I like to have a point where during the heat of the summer, I give things a rest and they go in this pen, just even for a couple weeks. So I can go in, I can harvest, I mow anything that they've been ignoring, you know, just a little bit of maintenance through this area. And then they spend most of their time in here in the winter. But then as soon as they can, they come out and they're pasturing this spring. We leave them mostly here, and I can tell you the health of this side is so much greater than over there. I've got a lot more pest problems on that side and a lot more fungal issues. They eat all the fruit that drops, so you have a fungus-ridden fruit. You don't have to pick those up by hand. You can let your ducks eat it. Lazy farming at its best. You let the ducks handle it, they're happy to do it for you, and then you just benefit from their efforts. They dig holes in the ground, so whenever it's wet, they like to burrow down and make these little divots. And what they're looking for are earthworms and bugs and things. So if you can imagine like a peach borer, right? They're gonna be super useful to get down around the trunks of those trees and pull all those borers out and keep the trunk clean. They like to dig around tree trunks for some reason, and so it's incredibly handy to use in your silvopasture situation. They also can't fly like a chicken. They're in that zone where you want them to maintain the orchard for you, but not mess with your crop. They are the most beginner-friendly silvopasture animal you could possibly have because they can't fly and they can't go anywhere. These are turkeys. So on this side we have the turkeys. It's kind of the same design as the ducks. We were focusing on getting this structure to keep things alive because, oh my goodness, turkeys are so stupid and everything wants to eat them. Like the babies, we went from like 45 babies one year to 15 because all the aerial predators. We have eagles here, we have hawks, and we have barred owls at night that will eat a lot of the smaller ones. We've got the main barn where they can go in and out of. There's an automatic door. And then we have 2 wings on either side so that we can either separate a mom to let her raise babies, or we can bring in the babies that we raised in the barn, and then no aerial predators are gonna pick them off. And then once they've grown smart enough and big enough, then they can rotate pasture. The turkeys at this point, you know, we've had a frost, everything's slowed down, so they're not really eating a lot of grass, a little bit. but they're eating all the persimmons. I will say turkeys have something they can get called blackhead, which turns their poop bright yellow. And I had a freak out moment when we put them on the pasture for the first time where suddenly their poop changed color. And I had, you know, you're a new farmer and you're, oh my gosh, all my turkeys are gonna die. Turns out they just really like persimmons. Make sure whatever you're planting in their pasture or whatever structures you have, that it doesn't interfere with their natural instincts. Turkeys prefer to be outside, but if you raise them for that first 2 weeks and for any changes you make after that, I mean like anything, you change their water, you change what door is open, whatever it is, you're gonna have to check on them, because if you don't, one's probably going to die. And they just find ways to die. They're in that category. So they're definitely difficult. You can't treat them the same way that you do chickens. When we raised the baby chickens, that we had a certain water that we always use. We had 4 drown themselves, turkeys, in that same water system. The next day, we got them in the mail. Oh, look, 4 are dead. I mean, it was water that was this deep, and this wide, and they're, you know, twice the size of a chick. And they still couldn't figure out how to lift their foot this far and step out. While they're wonderful, they make the best sounds. They'll follow you. You want to herd them off somewhere where suddenly you have some amazing poke plants growing. They love pokeberries. They will love you forever if you just take them on a vacation over there. They are still very fragile and unintelligent. So they have lots of great qualities, but also some things that you just need to be aware of. So these are our dolings. And they're one of our mobile buildings. Notice this one is one that's not on a trailer, but we can move it with the tractors, throw some forks on the tractor and it moves. So, you know, it can be as simple as something like this or fancy with wheels. It really doesn't matter. For the hogs, we really love those metal structures because you can very easily move them. I move them with a tractor. My husband just kind of gets up underneath them and walks away. So if you walk down here, you'll see they have a silvopastured space. If you look behind you, that's kind of what you're looking for like goat pasture regrowth. And then they're gonna eat it down to this, and if I leave them long enough, they'll actually strip every single bit of bark they can reach off all the way to the ground. If you're clearing land, obviously they're great for that. But if you just want them to perform what they're meant to do, which is eat off the ground, stay away from their parasites, then just letting these kind of weird regrowth trees go is actually really great. And then you're not going to have to treat them with wormers. And you just, you know, you get a little bit of Molly's herbs or something in them and they'll be fine. So I highly encourage you to not just think of silvopasture as one dimensions. Okay, we've got the orchard, you got the mature trees, you got the fruiting trees, and then you got this weird thing with the goats. And all of it is silvopasture. You're utilizing the tree. And so if you can think outside the box as to how I can raise my animals in a healthy way, the way they function best, you know, and then bring the trees in, because the trees are going to bring in the ecosystem. And then, you know, and then the animals, they go through and they graze it short amount of time, and then they move on, and then your ecosystem, you know, trades places with them. Think outside the box. Don't have one view of what you think silvopasture is. You can come in and you can edit a little bit and kind of make it more productive as you adapt to it. Failing as a farmer is really okay. You know, just put that in your cost. Like, no, there's going to be some expensive failures along the way there.